Hello, and welcome to Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the 10-story gorilla in the room, Alessandro Bielsi.
Fitting.
Our main topic for this episode is going to end up being Kong Skull Island and the monster movie genre as a whole and where it's going. But first...
Kong Skull Island, the movie I actually saw.
Yeah. What are we drinking?
More on that later. Sorry, let me just finish. Oh, God.
What are we about to drink?
Chunks of something.
Ew.
No, that's okay.
What have you done?
It's probably normal. Probably.
Make sure you get me some of the chunks, too.
Oh, yeah, you want some?
Oh, no, you monster.
You said you wanted it.
Monster movie.
You can't take it back. So what we have here is Newburgh Brewing, who still doesn't sponsor us. Their Sur Lie Sour Ale, which is, again, part of their Accidentally on Purpose line.
Love it.
As was Jessica Sour Aged Cherry Porter. So this is a sour ale aged in oak on Cheval Blanc Lees. Probably just Lee. I don't speak French well, for those of you who do. Or at all, for that matter. So this is a bottle-conditioned ale. As we discussed...
What's a bottle-conditioned ale?
What's that?
What's a bottle-conditioned ale?
So it's like the way that I brew my beers,
okay.
Where you add the yeast and you begin the fermenting, but then the fermentation process finishes in the bottle for the carbonation.
Okay.
As opposed to having forced carbonation on the back end, where they'll pull all the yeast and everything out of it, they'll filter it, and then they force carbonate it and cap it under pressure.
Okay.
This one, you cap normal with a little bit of active yeast in it, and the fermentation continues on for a little bit after it's been bottled up, and that creates the carbon dioxide that pressurizes and carbonates.
Interesting.
So I'm going to read you a little stuff from head brewer Chris Basso's notes here. The Sur Lie Ale aged in oak. It's part of the Accidentally on Purpose series, as I said. It's a barrel-aged sour ale. I strive to be in control of every part of the aging process, but a portion is left to fate. I set this beer up for success. It's blended with the proper yeast and bacteria cultures. The ideal aging environment's created, and then patience practiced. Sur Lie started as a cream ale, which is their flagship beer, the Newburgh cream ale.
Like that. And
through the work of Cheval Blanc Lie and bacteria, transformed into a dry, tart, sour ale with beautiful rounded notes of oak. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, right on the nose. I got a big time white wine.
Yeah. I had a facial reaction to that I don't know how to put into words.
It was the sour part hitting me.
It hit me right off the bat.
Yep.
It was like I drank white wine that turned into vinegar.
It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. But
what do you think about this?
It's not my favorite, Al. I'm going to be honest with you.
Is it better or worse than the 6 point sour?
It's better than the one with all the salt in it.
the salty sour.
Salted sour. Yeah, big grains of salt. Not in this one.
No, not in this one.
Very sour.
There's big grains of something.
It's weird though. It's like right off the bat, like my first impression was I don't like it, but I'm liking the follow up.
I think this
flavor.
one's going to grow on you. Just give it a little bit more time.
I will. I'm going to finish it. It's going to happen.
Good. As long as we can avoid you ever getting to the point where you are going to pour one out.
Right.
Or me, for that matter.
You know what? It tastes like warheads dropped in white wine.
Yeah, I'm not getting that. This is not nearly as sour as a lot of sour beers can be. Actually, it's pretty muted.
I think it's
souring
sour.
Effect. No, it's not that it's not there. It's just not as in your face. The thing that I'm getting is the white wine.
Yeah.
It was big on the nose, and even like sitting on the palate, it's pretty white wine inspired. And the cream ale is a pretty generic, basic type of beer anyway. So these flavors are really overtaking that, as opposed to the sour porter that we had, where like you got the full on porter experience.
Right. It's almost like it's like a sour wine drink as opposed to a sour beer drink.
Yeah, if you took the carbonation out of this, I might have thought it was some variation of wine, not beer. And you had me blind test it.
Right. Yeah, I have a feeling it'll probably. I feel like it's going to grow on me throughout the episode. So let's check. Check back in on me a little later.
I actually like this.
Yeah.
I was a little bit.
Is this your first experience with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean that's the idea, right? Other than the beers that I've made, hopefully neither of us has ever tried one of them.
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying to bring you Newburgh beers that I haven't drank before. I've had this sitting in my fridge for a while.
I do love the Accidentally on Purpose. That's
right. Yeah, it's cool.
I'll drink it just because of that.
I have a couple of their other ones waiting. We'll get in future episodes. I don't think I have any more of the Accidentally on Purpose, though. One of them is one of their cask-aged brown ales. They've done a whole series of those now. They take their basic brown ale and they find different ways to... They've had a partnership with Hill Rock Estates Distillery, which is a distillery up in the Black Dirt region in New York, near me.
Okay.
And they make... From what I understand, they make very good whiskey. I haven't had any of it. It's really expensive, actually. But it's all locally made from there. And they give them some of their casks after they've used them to age the whiskey, and then they use it for the beer. And actually, I think they've now started to even trade back too, and send some of the beer casks over, because that's becoming a thing now. The oak aging of beers has been going on for a bit now, but if you look back, whiskeys have started doing it back in the reverse. I know Jameson has a series of I want to say they use stouted beer kegs to age some of their whiskeys. A friend of mine really likes those. The Jameson, it's the... I forget exactly what it's called, but it's the Jameson barrel series or something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember what it is. So I think they're doing a bit of horse trading with that,
Gotcha.
with Hill Rock Estate, which is kind of cool.
I've got a question for you. So we talked about this outside of an episode yesterday, actually. The whole concept of when you hear or see something, and then all of a sudden you hear and see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Sour beers. Mm-hmm. I feel like my first experience with a sour beer was probably a little less than a year ago.
Okay.
But now they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Is that me? Or are they actually now all over the place?
It's not just you. Not that it's just been a year. It's been a couple of years, but whereas the previous wave of the most popular craft beers being all... hopped out of their minds. The second wave now, if you want to call it the second wave, is sour. I could be wrong. Maybe it's the third or fourth. The current wave is that a lot of them are getting into sour beers. You'll see a lot of craft sour beers now. Even stuff like I saw something in the store the other day. I don't think it was Sam Adams, but it was another quote unquote big craft brewery that I didn't ever see sour beers of theirs before. And I saw a new project by them, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." I didn't get it. I haven't tried it out yet. Maybe future episodes, because I'm sure I'll see it again.
Right.
Your world. So
it's growing. It actually is growing on me right as we speak. And
as I was drinking it, I was like, "There's no way you're not gonna like."
It's me
this.
changing my approach to drinking it, because usually I'll take less often a bigger sip, and I'll hold it in my mouth a little bit. But this, it's a small sip, and I really like it, almost like I would drink wine.
Yeah.
Which is really there you go. There's your white wine again.
Yeah, no, I've not that I thought this was going to be your favorite, but as we're drinking it, I was like, "There's no way he doesn't like this." At some point, it's got to get
if you're into sour beers, I would say go for it. If you're on the fence, I would say don't.
Yeah. See, this is way less intense for me of a sour experience than other ones. You've had Newburgh's Checkpoint Charlie. That's way more sour than this is.
Yeah. I like that one.
It's a good beer.
Yeah. Not saying I dislike this one.
Yeah. Actually,
like I said, it's growing.
I'll be honest. Most of my sour beer consumption has been theirs, and they use the similar techniques because there's a couple of different techniques to souring beers. Theirs all have kind of the same through line through all their different beer products. So, one of my favorite beers of theirs that they do, which is kind of it's not seasonal, but they don't always have it on tap, but it's they try and keep it when they can. They call it the Cafe Sour. It's a sour beer that's fermented on some sort of, I think it's African coffee. And when the nose is 100% coffee.
That's
but
cool.
when you drink it, it doesn't really taste that much like coffee. It's sour.
Huh.
It's it sounds weird. It's you look at it, the coloration is weird. And sour beers will have weird coloration in general. But it's so good. And one of my friends who we go to Newburgh all the time, every week for trivia, and it's his favorite beer. And when they say it's the last keg, he goes and buys a growler. Because he's not sure it's going to be a few months until he gets it again.
Sure.
But I didn't really like it the first time I had it, but that one grew on me. That's one of my favorite beers that they do.
Nice.
Yeah.
So with that, shall we get into our Flix portion of the show?
Let's do it. Well, most of the times the flick dominates the six. So.
Yeah, well, that's why I want to linger a little bit in the beginning.
I'm not lingering in the six.
We're
going to be lingering in the six today.
So, not to be confused with episode 6, which is this episode.
Well, this is episode 6, but we're going to be lingering in the 6 of beers. For sure.
So, in the intro, I mentioned that we're going to be talking about Kong Skull Island. We're going to talk a little bit about the monster movie, the new monster movie saga.
Yeah,
that's going on here.
What do they actually call it? It's like the monster. It's not the Monster Cinematic Universe, because that'll be MCU as well.
They're like, we're going to call it the Monster Cinematic Universe. Shit. Can't abbreviate that one.
I'm going to look it up because I feel like I should know this, considering they are committing to doing this.
So what we're gonna get into a little bit of Godzilla.
The Universal Monster series, that's what they're calling it.
Okay, Universal Monster series.
Universal Monsters is what they're calling it. It's the Universal Monster. It's a shared universe between all of these.
So we're gonna get into a little bit of Godzilla, which full disclosure, Al hasn't seen. I showed him some.
I have not. I'm going to be faking
clips
it from nearly start to finish.
Yeah, I showed him some clips. I want to bring it up because I think it's important to bring up some of the features of that film, leading into Kong, which is where we're going to probably spend most of our time. Because
I did see that one.
You did see that one, right? I feel like I'm just going to lay it out there on the line right now. I feel like Kong improved on some of the failures of Godzilla, and I think Godzilla was a good start. It got us into it. It wasn't great. It was like if I didn't see it again, I wouldn't be sad. But it is relevant.
That's the impression
to this
that I've
new
gotten.
universe.
That's the impression I've gotten of it, is that it did enough to make you interested.
Yeah.
And they did some cool things. I know you want to talk about some of the cinematic things that they did.
Absolutely.
Which I heard were really cool and definitely hold up. But yeah, I heard that ultimately it was just a so-so movie.
Right. So when you're watching that movie, or when I'm watching that movie, I was just generally I felt it was just flat for me for a good chunk of it. Okay. And then towards the very end, there starts to be. It's almost as if it changed directors. That's how really? Different it felt to me. Yeah. Only I guess because when you go see a monster movie, I'm actually not. My intention is not to see a great story. My intention is not to see
a monster movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
just clarifying.
I'm just here for fun. It's gonna be a monster movie. It's gonna be cool, good time. It's a popcorn flick.
Yeah.
You know. And it at the beginning, it's almost as if they were trying to do a lot of. Or not, I don't know if they were trying to do it. It felt like they were trying to do some story stuff there, but it just it wasn't that interesting, and I didn't care, and I know where it's going in the end, so all that stuff ends up being kind of useless to me.
Which the funny thing is, I actually didn't feel that way with Kong.
Right.
I was much more into the. No, don't have a comparison, but I was into the story from pretty early on.
There's a good reason for that, which we'll get to when we start to break down the movies a little bit more. But
I don't mind waiting. It's just I'm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that was what I was going to ask you first. Is so what is it? If it's two or three things, or if it's just one big overriding thing, what caused the disconnect between you and the movie of Godzilla?
So I'm here to see a monster movie, as I said. We don't see the monster until too late. Which is a classic thing that has happened in monster movies that came out previously.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
Thankfully, again, we'll get to later. You get to see Kong early and often.
And I think that's like a. I feel like as they came off the heels of Godzilla, they were like, okay, let's see what landed, what didn't, and they're like, let's show him 10 minutes into the movie, he's here. Or not even 10 minutes. It's actually within a few minutes.
It's funny that there's pacing issues with that movie because it's Gareth Edwards, and he did Rogue One.
Yeah.
And I did not think pacing was an issue in that movie.
Yeah, I did.
Did you?
As we discussed that a little bit. Yeah, I had
some
issues
little bit, but
pacing.
I know you said more it was the characters that didn't work for you in Rogue One.
And the characters don't really work for me here either. Okay. Which maybe that's just a thing. Maybe that's for the.
Although he's not. I don't think he wrote either of them.
No. But so the characters are it's interesting because you have Bryan Cranston when the movie starts off.
Yeah.
And
how was he in this?
He's good. Bryan Cranston's always good in my opinion.
I anticipate that being the case as well. Breaking Bad was tremendous, and he was tremendous in it. Although that's really the only substantial role I've seen him in, unfortunately.
Right.
I did want to see that movie he did with James Franco, even because that's
I want to see that.
It's a big departure from his other type of roles.
Yep.
And I heard good things about that movie.
Yeah, I would like to check that out. I need to dive into spoilers now.
Okay.
I need to start it out.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Which I don't think it really. You don't care.
Our audience knows. I already told you can go ahead, and I'll just try and follow along as best I can.
That movie came out in 2014, so my guess is if you haven't seen it and you're listening, whatever. Just stick around. Bryan Cranston does not last very long in that movie.
See, I know they played pretty coy with that, coming out because he was like the guy that they promote a lot in, because he is the biggest star in this.
Right.
There's other pretty well known people in this movie, but he is the by far the headliner of it. Mm-hmm. And I wondered about it because they played coy with it, and it seems like they gave you a lot on the front end of him, but I wondered whether I kind of anticipated that he was either going to be sidelined or killed off. I was just wondering where it was going to happen in the movie, so it's early.
Right. Well, it's
like the first third of the movie, or
it's like within that time frame there. Even sooner is I don't know how to say her name. She was in Ghost in the Shell, the doctor.
Juliette Binoche.
Yep.
I think that's
if that's how you say it. I'm not going to try. I'm going to let you do the one that fails.
I think that's
if that's the case.
How it's pronounced.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
So she plays Bryan Cranston's wife. So she's Sandra Brody, and she plays the wife of Joe Brody.
Yes.
So she dies real quick in the movie.
She does too?
She dies real early on. So what happens is...
So now I understand why when we were watching Ghost and I brought her up to you that she was in Godzilla.
And I was like, oh, right.
You forgot?
Yeah.
That explains it.
And here's where, and this is where, there's some story that they're trying to accomplish, and it ends up kind of falling flat for me, and I don't really care that much. And that is that B. Cranst is a...
God, that was so douchey. Why? Why would you do that to me?
He runs this power plant.
More importantly, why would you do that to the audience? So he runs.
They should expect it. He runs this nuclear power plant, and his wife works with them as well. And he sends her in to check something out early on, seismic activity that he.
Classic start up to any monster disaster movie.
There's things making noise underground. So sends her in, and she ends up getting caught inside while things are starting to come down. He has to he's the one that closed the door, and he has to do it.
So this is a nuclear plant meltdown?
Yes.
Okay.
Collapsing. It's not a meltdown because of the way that things go down.
Okay.
But he ends up closing it, and he has to be. He's he gets there early. He's holding onto the door, he's holding it open as long as possible until she tells him,
"You gotta do it.
You gotta do it." And he closes it, and within a couple of seconds after that, she's there. And this is when the movie started off. I was like, okay, you know what? I wasn't expecting this, but I can get behind this. We're gonna get deep.
You would expect that had she been working there, that she would know what hallway she was in, how long it was gonna take her.
Yeah, well, she's running. Things happen while she's running.
Okay.
Stuff's breaks. She falls. She tries to help somebody up.
So it's like playing a video game and the chase scene where you're trying to escape, the Indiana Jones running away from the rock,
right? Or the Lion King game on Sega when it's the stampede scene and you're running towards the screen is what comes to mind.
You have some great old Sega references. We talked about the Sega Nomad in a previous episode.
But so she doesn't make it, and that's. I said, I love Bryan Cranston, and his delivery during that scene, I'm all for it. I totally believe him. I'm sad with him. As he's looking at her through the glass, and it's closing, and he's just breaking.
Well, it's his wife, so.
And he's awesome. And I was like, oh, maybe that's what maybe they're gonna go here with the movie. Maybe it's it really is gonna be about these other characters, and it's not a monster movie. Maybe they're trying to be more serious about it. It then leads up to we jump forward a bit, and 15 years.
Wow.
Not a bit.
I did not realize that sort of thing was going on.
Yeah, and so their son, who is we meet early on,
Sam,
as a young kid.
Ford.
Young Ford, yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
When he's older.
Okay.
Yeah. he's just playing the child 15 years earlier, and nobody gets it. That would be amazing. So he's. And that's actually we'll touch on him for a second there. I actually liked him in the movie as well.
Okay.
I didn't think but I feel like the writing started to suffer at that point, and they didn't really work. They were trying to give him a story, and they were trying to give him a purpose, and it wasn't working because they were also trying to do shift gears to monster movie mode, where the story doesn't matter as much anymore. Mm-hmm. And maybe if you're super into monster movies, you'll call me out on that, but I don't think it matters. Like I said, I'm there for the crazy nonsense.
I wouldn't say that it never matters, but most of what we've seen it hasn't. I would say disagree a little bit with Kong.
Yes, no, I would. I think Kong worked. But like I said, I think they learned from a lot of mistakes that were in this movie. Now, like I said, I didn't dislike this movie.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
It just
but it had some problems.
Expectations.
Yes.
So you're saying though that you don't really like Aaron Taylor Johnson's portrayal so much?
No, I actually don't think he was the problem.
You think it was the character?
I think it was the character.
Because I don't have much of an opinion on him yet. I've only seen him in 2 things. Mm-hmm. One of them was in Ultron, where he's not Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if anyone who's familiar with the rights issues with Fox owning X-Men, and he's not Quicksilver.
Right.
And he's playing not quite real Eastern European character. And he was fine in that, but like it's a very particular character, very particular performance, right? Mm-hmm. So the only other thing I've ever seen him in, I don't know if you remember this or not. Do you remember the not very good team-up movies with Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan? Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights.
Oh man, I love Shanghai Noon.
Do you remember Shanghai Nights? The one where they
I don't know that I don't remember that one that much. I think it soured my love for it because I loved the first one so much.
One, it was the first thing I ever saw. Guy who plays Peter Baelish from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
The name's escaping me for a second, which is kind of weird. Because I actually like him. I think he's a good actor.
Littlefinger / douche in Dark Knight Rises.
Aidan Gillen, that's it. He's like a very Irish name. So Aaron Taylor Johnson is like the 10-year-old Charlie Chaplin in that. He's a little like street ruffian who like keeps popping up in the story and like messing with the two of them, and then he ends up helping them. So that's him. He doesn't look anything like him. And it's like when I figured out that that's the same person, I was like, holy shit! Like a child actor became something that like, you know, like it's like such a weird.
Did you ever see Kick-Ass?
No, I didn't. I know he's. I know he's in it, but I never saw either.
I'm a big fan of Kick-Ass.
I saw like the first 15 minutes of the first one, and it was like on TV, and I just like couldn't keep watching it for whatever reason. I know a lot of people like the first one, but I never got a chance to see it.
Yeah, I dig the first one. Second one, I'm okay with it. I understand the second one had its problems, but I'm okay with it. So, like I said, I actually think he's a decent to good actor. I feel like he suffered from some writing and directional issues.
Okay.
But that being said, so like it's like we start to get into his character a little bit, but I think at this point they're realizing, all right, we got to hop to it. You know, we got to start showing stuff. Yeah. So then they show these like the villainous monsters like start to pop up.
Do we get again? I didn't see it. What do they call those? And what?
You know what? I don't know.
What's their origin?
What they called them.
While you're looking this up, it's kind of cool, right? That Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen played brother and sister in this, as addition to them playing brother and sister in Age of Ultron.
Godzilla starring Magneto's children.
Yeah, right? Not Magneto's children.
Not Magneto's children.
Because he's not Quicksilver.
Don't come after me.
She's not Scarlet Witch.
She is. Don't come after me, Fox.
Yeah.
Monsters. I don't know how. For some reason, I can't formulate how to phrase this. I'm just doing monsters from Godzilla 2014.
You know those, as I described them earlier when I was trying to catch up on some of the stuff you want to talk about. The part bat, part spider, part monkey.
Yeah.
Made of metal. Looking
metal,
yeah. Right? They all have kind of like a metal carapace. Like,
yeah, it was odd. I didn't really
metallic.
I don't know if that's like something from like the older monster movie lore and like other old Godzilla movies. It might mean something to somebody else who's big into this.
I haven't watched a ton of them. I've seen bits of some of them here and there. You know, like Uncle Ed was like a big fan of all those like old Godzilla like monster movies, King Kong. So I've seen some of them.
Okay.
But I know like Mothra and like the one of the 3-headed like Cerberus-esque like Hydra type monster, which the name is escaping me now. Although I definitely know I've known it in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I know what you're talking about. So I don't know.
Right, it's like the one with like the golden heads and it's like dragon type thing.
Mm-hmm. I had that toy.
Did you? So I was just wondering if they like. So what was the origin of those things?
So what happened?
Is this part of the monster universe, or is this a construct?
I don't know if they're part of like the original.
So
I mean,
again, since we've already covered spoilers earlier,
yeah.
Like if you're listening to this, like we're going heavy spoilers on Godzilla, heavy spoilers on Kong Skull.
So you're just prefacing this. There's going to be some Kong stuff right now that you're going to cover. Okay.
So at the end of the post-credits stinger, they show like 1 million monsters.
Yeah.
They're going to be shown in this. I don't know if it was on that thing or not in that run-up because it was all like cave paintings. So
right,
and they pop through them really quick.
It's very possible. So the way that it's broken down is that there's these two. They find these like I guess kind of like cocoon egg type things that they're in, and
so
one is a male, one is a female.
They're going to be part of this thing. They're not a construct. This isn't like Godzilla fighting something that they constructed in a lab.
Yeah, it seemed like they've been around for a while. Like they're a thing.
So this is fully part of the monster universe then.
Okay, I see. If that's what you mean, then
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I was asking.
It starts off like when the first monster that you see is, I believe it's the male. It's the one with wings. It's the one that can fly.
Oh, do they not both have wings?
No, they don't.
Remember that not HD
Yeah.
clip I was watching?
So they kind of like wake that sucker up, and it's causing all sorts of havoc, and it flies away, and it's like it's trying to get towards something else, and we don't know what it is yet. And Bryan Cranston, what he's realizing is that from listening and observing to these seismic anomalies, he's trying to figure out what's going on. It sounds like it's calling out, and it sounds like something else is responding, and he's trying to figure out what it was.
So wait, had he seen this monster fly away, or is he just hearing this on some meter?
He hears it he sees it on some meter. He's actually involved in the scene where it comes out of its shell. And that's the scene he doesn't make it out of.
Okay.
He doesn't die in like an epic, like I got eaten kind of way.
More accidental.
Yeah, like shit falls around him,
So
and like he
there's
gets
a lot of
hurt,
that in
and
this
then
movie?
he just dies.
Okay.
Which we're definitely gonna get to that. So then that thing is going to fly to find. It's trying to find the mate.
Okay.
Which we then find out is in like Nevada somewhere, in like where we dump all our nuclear waste.
Salt
They
flats?
have this.
The Yucca salt flats.
They have like this big cocoon, this other cocoon thing, but apparently it hatches based on this. Or I don't know.
So
if hatch is
where
the
does
right
it
word.
off? Where does it start off then? In like San Francisco? Or something? New York.
No, it's in. It starts off in the Pacific. Where exactly was it? Was it Japan? I don't even.
Is it in
I don't
Japan?
even remember.
I mean, like it's Godzilla, so it makes sense.
The Philippines is where the first one comes from.
Oh, okay. Because I was curious, like where this whole thing happened with Bryan Cranston.
And if I remember correctly, I feel like he was stationed in Japan, but I could have that wrong, so don't quote me on that. But so the first one was found in the Philippines, and it like they find like this trail, like they find basically there's a dig site that collapses, and they find these underground tunnels, which is way more meaningful to me, having seen Kong first, which is actually kind of cool. I actually liked that it went in that direction.
Okay. I didn't realize that was a callback.
Yeah, I was able to appreciate that. But what happened? Like you'll see this one, like they find these shells things, and like this one that has like I guess hatched and a trail out into the water, like where there's just like this all messed up like trees and stuff as it goes out into the water.
Okay.
And you're just like, oh, what happened there? And that's going to find. That is. Oh crap! I actually might have this backwards. I don't remember what that one was. That was Was that Godzilla?
Come on, man.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't remember. You know what? It's not that important. See, this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. If you disagree, that's great.
Power through.
I'm here for a monster movie.
Yes.
I'm here for the crazy fight between the monsters. Like that's why I'm here to watch it. You tried to give me story, and it didn't work for me.
Yeah,
that was my problem. But so anyway, the main premise here is that the male is trying to find the female, get to the female, and then the other doctor in the movie, and I put it that way because I don't even remember his name.
Oh, Ken Watanabe.
He's just conveniently there.
Dr. Ishiro Serizawa.
Yep, that's him. He's explaining that like it's trying to mate, and then like they talk about this giant monster that they had like years ago, like launched a nuke at, and they tried to kill it, which was Godzilla. They show you that in the very beginning of the movie as like a throwback.
Was this some sort of secret? Nuclear launches do not get overlooked.
They portrayed it as like a nuke test off the coast of some,
The Japanese did this?
And I think we did.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
Well, he's Japanese, so.
I feel like we did it based on the fact that I don't know right now is
further reinforcing
concerning.
Your point, yes.
Yeah, like they had like all these tendrils of like these things that they wanted to do, but then they were like, oh right, wait, we're doing monster movie. Like that's how it felt. And they never I feel like things didn't get tied up. And I mean, I don't think that it was me and the way that I was watching the movie, and maybe I just wasn't that interested in that story of it. Like I said, because I was going in to see a monster flick.
Yeah.
But whatever. If
I get that. You gotta get.
If you disagree, you disagree. That's fine.
You gotta get the right headspace for that.
For me, it didn't work. But so yeah, they're trying to. So he's basically explains that there's this other monster, and like he explains the concept of like this Godzilla it's there, but he thinks it's going to restore balance. And that's the purpose.
It's the chosen one.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna bring balance back to the force.
Balance of the force. So like they want to blow these things up, and he's like, you should probably let him fight them.
Yes.
Because he's there to fight them.
And also that never goes wrong.
Right. That's where the ending of this movie comes into play, which is like that's why like and then so like skip ahead. Like I said, the rest of the story I personally don't feel matters. We get the cool fights.
So get us those epic scenes then. 'Cause that's
So
what you want to talk about.
I do. I want to talk about some epic scenes. So this is where the movie pulled me back in.
Okay.
Like I was saying,
it finally got to the disaster monster
yes,
stories.
and not even like it's not even it wasn't the disaster stuff specifically that did it for me, because actually that stuff maybe it's as my tastes have changed for movies over the disaster stuff. Actually, it makes me unsettled.
You know, it's funny. I remember reading a pretty long form article on that a couple of years ago. It was the time Man of Steel came out. Talking about how seeing that scale of how many, because I remember someone did as part of some sort of like research project and was published. It was from some university, Harvard or something. Someone did a calculation of what the cost in dollars and human life was from the big climactic scenes in Man of Steel.
Right.
I don't remember what the number of deaths was, but it was catastrophic. Yeah. And the cost was trillions of dollars. Or many, many billions, if not. It was definitely not an M, it was a B or a T.
Right.
And saying how since that's the way the spectacle is going with these blockbuster movies, it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and how it's a concerning trend for society, because when you see that sort of large-scale destruction in such a casual way, that it kind of inures us to that sort of thing as a people, like that you don't, when you hear about a real life tragedy, it's a concern that you may be less devastated by it because you're used to seeing it. It's the whole idea of violence in video games making you a violent person, and I don't believe that's true. I think it's been more or less proven that it doesn't make you true, but it does possibly sanitize your reaction to violence. And in the same way with this, destruction, chaos, and mass death is sanitized. The human reaction is sanitized by watching these so flippantly shown on screen.
Yeah, and one of the things that throws you for a loop is they're, like I said, the earlier part of the movie is different from the end, and they're trying to make characters, and they're trying to
which makes sense, because in order to make that sort of jump to someone gets killed off, you have to care about the character. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Right. So it just sounds like they did a failed attempt at that.
Right, but then just thousands of people are dying. Clearly, they don't show you that actually happening. Clips here and there, but obviously, Godzilla's just gonna swat a building, trying to block something, and
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, of people it's just over for them. It was, like I said, that was unsettling. But what really did it for me, when the tides kind of turned and it started to actually be the monster movie that I sat down to watch, there were some really cool scenes. And I've shared these with Al prior to Al prior to this conversation. But one of the big ones for me is there's a halo jump.
Yeah.
And it is just it's just so beautiful. The way the music is done, the way the shot is taken, they're jumping out of this plane. They all have the red flare on their ankle and
so they can track
each other. But and what really it lends itself when the camera pulls out.
Did they explain was that storm natural, or was it more of a thematic?
I think it was just a thematic thing.
Well, what I'm saying is, I was wondering if there was some sort of, was it a reaction to these monsters?
No.
Where that was supposed to be something we believe in. Because there's something with that with Kong, right? Where the island is surrounded by such a ridiculous...
and it's hidden because of that.
I'm wondering if that's
they didn't
going to be
say
a continuing
anything,
thing now, because it's been in 2 movies?
Unless I missed it, they didn't say anything.
Or if it was just a backdrop kind of tonal thing.
Yeah, maybe it's... I feel like it's just supposed to be from all the chaos that they're creating and all this stuff.
It's just a backdrop tone type thing.
Exactly.
It was really cool shot.
It's a beautiful shot. As you have these clouds kind of rolling in the sea, in a C shape, and they're falling down through them, and you see the flares up on their legs, and it's just it's beautiful photography, right?
And it was really unique. It was a unique, the whole the left side of the screen, big storm front, and then it wraps up and over to the right. But the right, we still see that little bit of paradise, right?
Yeah,
in the distance.
Mm-hmm. And as they come down through, and then oh, this is a really awesome, a still shot. You could print this out and it'd be a cool picture.
Yes.
But then it goes further, and from the perspective of one of the jumpers, you see as they're getting close to the monster, and
that was cool how they
he's
cut
passing through right by Godzilla, and you're oh god damn, he's going in the shit.
That was a cool way to cut that up, right?
Yeah.
Where you get interspersed as they go through systematically. You have the landscape shot where it's almost a still, or even the way that some of these like now like interactive moving posters are for movies on like the computer, and then you get shots of them a little bit more zoomed in with the flare attached to the leg, and you can kind of see, and then you get the first person point of view from inside, and they even have the effect to show like the goggles and on the helmet like that. I like the way that they kept rolling the cut between all three of those different like aspects. I thought that was a really cool bit of cinematography.
Yeah, it's well done. That scene is one of the ones that like really like got me like that would be a reason I would watch it again, just to watch even that clip. Like I enjoyed that thoroughly. And then there was a funny scene to me where they're like one of the monsters is like swatting like a train off the track that they have this nuke on. Whatever. That's later on in the end, towards the end. But he's swatting this train off the tracks, and it's almost funny because it kind of brings me back to Ant-Man. Because it's like
we were talking about that last night.
Yeah, like they're so in Ant-Man when they fight on the train, and it's like this big serious thing as they're fighting, but then it pans out and it's really just a toy.
Yeah,
like it's really funny.
It's just like
I feel like as far as the scale goes, this thing is just like this little flick, and it's gone, like to this giant monster. That was another cool scene, that just showing the scale there. But the scale felt confusing for some of the other scenes for me. Like it almost seemed like it wasn't right. Okay. I think they got scale right in Kong.
Yes.
I think that's another thing that they learned.
Yes. Although, I mean, like different direction and everything. That's not Gareth Edwards. Jordan Vogt-Roberts. I have no idea who that is even.
Yeah. Well, I think they learned a little something there.
He's the guy who did. That's not the one that Kings of Summer. Didn't you know? Or
yes.
Know someone who knows is it the director or the writer of Kings of Summer?
The writer.
Okay.
So we're uncovering something now.
Yeah, this is a weird. I did not plan this tangent here. I'm sorry.
We'll discover that at some other point.
Okay,
we'll dig through it. Okay.
The guy who directed the movie that your friend of a friend of a friend wrote, Kings of Summer.
Directed.
Kong's Gone.
Gotcha.
Jordan Vogt-Roberts.
Cool.
He was the director of that movie.
Gotcha. I love Kings of Summer.
I didn't see it.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
I understand why you saw it.
Yeah. So that was one scene. Swatting the train, and then the scene of the Halo jump. Then there's this scene, another scene that I shared with you, which was the jets falling out of the sky. So these giant creatures are able to emit this EMP, and it just knocks these jet fighters out of the sky. And there's this really crazy scene on the mainland where Scarlet Witch is helping people, and in the distance, like she turns, and in the distance you see the paratrooper, like kind of, well, not paratrooper, but like a guy that had ejected from a plane, which you don't know at that second you don't actually realize what's happening. I feel, and he's coming through like the clouds in his parachute, and then they quickly there's a quick turn, and this plane just crashes into one of the buildings because it's spinning out of control.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, Jesus. And then all of a sudden it's like another one, and you're like, good God. And like, I'm ducking. Like, I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, God. But like, I thought that was really well done, because like, they did this a lot of the times where it was cool. Like, they dropped the sound, and then they did that nice crescendo back up, and like, that was, like, the Halo jump was one of them.
That was something that I thought was really cool. I meant to bring that, I kind of forgot there. The way that they did the sound in that scene, especially the first half of that scene, when they're actually showing them jumping out, and showing them just falling from the perspective of them falling before they start getting into that multiple, like, different perspective cut.
Yeah.
The understated audio, with just a little bit of backing, like scoring, I thought was really cool. Because too many times when you get that sort of scene, you get that over the top, like overproduced, like it's like either like a rock like song they like just jam into there because like, oh yeah, adrenaline, you know.
Right.
I thought it was really cool the way that they did that in the backing, just kind of like backing noises crescendoing, but it doesn't even ever end up getting that loud. It just
the slow rise itself, it's like
building,
you feel your adrenaline,
acceptable,
like,
and it's more in the back of your mind.
Mm-hmm. It's stuff like that. I really love like a little scene like that. Something like that really sticks with me.
Yeah.
And like that's like when I think about Godzilla 2014, I'm gonna think about that scene,
which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is. I just really appreciate that scene.
If just a couple of dudes falling was the one scene that you like take away from that.
And then so we talked about the planes falling out of the sky. Then there's the two monster kills.
Yes.
Now let's get into these real quick.
The climax.
So Godzilla's fighting these two suckers in the city, just breaking everything.
Is that what we're settled on? Because we don't know the names.
The two suckers.
The two suckers.
Yeah. They're just breaking everything, and eventually the male flies at him, and like it's really funny because if you really start to break it down, it's dumb that it went on as long as it did, because in the end he just swats him with his tail and he dies. I mean,
well, the second one, the first kill was pretty cool.
That's actually the one you're talking about. Is the second one?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, you saw it out of order.
That was so weird.
So
that scene was cut off.
What happened is
that's the YouTube clip, not the movie. The movie, it sounds like, was cut better in that situation.
Yeah. So the one comes flying in, and he just like he attacks it, like he like flings it. It goes flying away. It swoops and it comes back, and he turns and he looks at it and he just gives it a quick. And by quick, I mean really slow.
Well, with that size, it was moving really fast. It just looked slow.
A real slow ass turn, and he smacks it with his tail,
he twerked it to death.
And it just everything about that was awesome though. Like he hits it with the tail and it slams into the building, and like the way the sound dropped, like it was just like over. It's like you could see the words "game over" like scroll up on the screen. Like this was like fighting game.
And
you were controlling Godzilla. Your best friend was controlling the other one. And you just killed him. Like you got him. He's dead.
It's basically like when we used to play Mortal Kombat, like you to me.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was fair. You owned the console. I had no consoles. I was 6 and you were 8 or 9 or whatever. So, yeah. It's expected.
You whoop your ass.
I brought it up, not you.
Yeah. So and then the second. So that was and it was fun. When I'm watching the scene, I was like watching it and like it's almost as if the fight scene started to get stale. I was like, all right, yeah,
oh!
yeah. Like okay, they're gonna fight. All right, and then he's gonna jump on his back, and then they're gonna fight, and they're gonna fly away, and then they fight, and it's just like we're done now. Slam. And I was like, Jesus. I like cheered a little bit. I'm alone, by the way. I'm like, yeah, just getting into it. And then,
and like I thought the perfect thing, like my first thought was this ends now.
Yeah.
Pineapple Express when he like drives him into the fucking wall after way too long of a stupid fight scene. Like.
Right. That's exactly what it was like. And then we find that, just previous to that, we found out, like, I think about they show you, like, his fire breath, his blue fire breath, but which is how he ends up taking out the other one. So they're fighting, and, you know what, let's take a step back real quick. The other one just got personal with him and with the female monster, not him, with her and Ford. Because Ford burned all her eggs. Yes, she laid the eggs in this area. He set them up in flames, basically, killed it all. And then it oddly turned personal, as if like, I mean, they're supposed to be animals, not creatures that take it personally. It was, and that was a weird disconnect.
Does she like try and like hunt him down? Or?
She like sees him and like knows it.
Dramatic eye contact.
Yes, and like knows it was him, and is like ready to kill him, and then like. It feels like she's going after him now.
She's hunting him.
Right. But for what reason? You're done. Go find another mate. That's if it was a real animal, I feel like that's what would be happening while she's out of eggs. But whatever. So that all goes down, and Godzilla fights this one now. Now it's one-on-one, a little bit more of a fair fight, because this thing is also huge.
Yeah.
And just murders it with extreme halitosis.
I think the words that I used was face fucked it with blue fire.
Yeah, which is both accurate. Because either it's blue fire or it's bad breath. It's one of the two, and it burns through its neck and just decapitates it.
To start off, the opening salvo, just blasting it up. That I think was more the halitosis, just kind of breathing on it. But then he grabs it by the jaw, which we discussed was for some reason in these monster movies, in like Peter Jackson Kong, in this movie, and in Kong Skull Island. We keep getting a scene of something with opposable thumbs grabbing its opponent by the jaws, and pulling the jaws open, and then it just leaned over, and that's when it face fucked it with the fire.
Yeah,
breathing the fire down its throat until its head exploded.
Yeah, well, not even it. Like it just burns through its neck.
It's like the flames are spouting.
And he's just like kind of like for a short second, which felt too long. He's just kind of like swinging the head.
Well,
like he just
tore the head right off.
Yeah, just holding onto it. And then here's where it gets odd again. I guess Godzilla's tired now. Like you didn't see this part, but that took a lot out of him.
It's Peter after the chicken fight.
Him and Ford collapse.
Why Ford?
Ford is on a boat right now, and he's trying to. I just skipped over the whole nuclear warhead thing.
Did they get an E.T. like vibe where like it gets tired and he gets tired?
No. Ford's been fighting this whole time. He's been trying to get this nuke out of the city. Okay. That's like.
Was he part of the Halo jump?
Yes.
Okay.
He's trying to get. He knows how to disarm it, but he can't because it's like kind of messed up.
Why does he know how to disarm it?
He's in the army. He was on the bomb squad.
Of course he was.
Yeah. Which that's I'm not to knock that stuff because they didn't like just add that in at the last minute.
No, I know.
It was brought up early on, like when
Still pretty
the 15-year jump after the beginning, like he's coming home from being on tour, I guess, and like that's how it worked. So like he's
not in a band. He wasn't on tour.
On a tour? He's on tour.
Yeah, he finished his tour of duty. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm right. Get off my ass.
It's just like when you say when someone's on tour, it's like a comedian or a band.
Sure. Or the army. So anyway, the whole thing is Halo jumped in because they need to get the nuke out because it's in the middle of the city and they don't want it to create like a massive
blow up.
Yeah, a massive amount of chaos. Meanwhile, from my perspective, everybody's already dead. They're not. But at the end, but yeah. So he gets it onto the boat and he's taking the boat out. He finally gets the boat going. The boat's moving, and he just like, okay, like I'm done. Like he's on the boat. He's like I'm gonna die here, but he's fine with that. He's trying to save as many people as possible. Mm-hmm. Cool, admirable hero. He's like just trying to save everybody. So he like
So now he's admiral.
Yeah, he's an admiral now. So he hits the boat up and he's going and he's like boat's finally moving. Looks at Godzilla. Godzilla falls. He collapses. And then they do another cool artsy scene.
Oh, thematic parallels.
Yeah, they do another cool artsy scene. This is where that's Godzilla's the hero. Let's just talk about that a little bit later. But so what happens? Like he hits the deck and he's like kind of passes out, and you see a bright light. And you're like, oh crap! Like they're going there. They're killing him off too. Then they decided they killed enough people off in this movie, so really it's a helicopter light. And they come down, they pick him up, and they bring him to the helicopter, and he's like half passed out in the helicopter. In the background, you see the nuke go off, and apparently everybody's fine because it's far enough away, but it doesn't really feel like it.
Batman?
Yeah. Autopilot.
Which I've totally fixed.
Yeah.
Oh no! Sorry, I never got to fix the autopilot.
Full disclosure, no autopilot. Totally sacrificing myself for this.
Yes, go.
So anyway, that goes on. So now Godzilla, like I said, he has collapsed at this point, so he's kind of just laying there. And people are gathering in a stadium. They're like all the people that are left alive, and which conveniently his son and wife survived. Thank God.
This is Ford.
Yeah, which
he has a son and wife?
Reunites with the son. Yeah, I didn't bring them into it.
Don't matter.
Yeah, he reunites with the son and the wife, Scarlet Witch, and
wait, that's
incest.
Is it his wife or his sister?
It's his wife. And
See, I said sister earlier. And
did I? I thought you were. I thought you were referring to them being brother and sister in this other movie.
No, I said, that's kind of cool that they play brother because they have the same last name.
Oh yeah, no, they don't play brother.
They play brother and sister in one and brother and sister in the other, and you just totally went with it.
Straight up lovers in this movie. Conveniently they all survived when in reality he should have died like 600 times, and so should she because she stayed back and helped people. Kudos to her, but still.
She's also Admiral Hero.
Yeah, she's an admiral as well. So admirable.
What is it with you and words, both spoken and typed today?
Sour beer. My mouth is just closing up.
Well, what was the excuse with all the stuff in the pre-show notes?
Get over it.
Abort and Costello.
Abort. Yeah, we'll get into that in another episode. So where was I going with? Okay, so now
meet up at the stadium.
They all meet up at the stadium, and Godzilla's there, passed out.
Next to the stadium?
Yeah? No? Hard to say. Seems that way. Looks like it's real close, but it's not real close.
So clearly Gareth Edwards learned a lot from this movie. These sorts of retarded situations did not happen in Rogue One.
It was, So anyway, the monster himself, he starts to wake up. And you think that after all the chaos, everybody would be like, oh God, it's alive! They cheer.
Of course they did.
Everybody cheers.
Surprised they didn't start praying and worshiping.
Yeah. And then it's like, immediate reaction should have been terror. Because he's still in the middle of the city, and he's getting up.
And also, he's exhausted. He just beat the shit out of these guys. He's probably hungry.
Yeah. So he's getting up, and everybody's excited about it. And I'm like... And that was like as I started to get into the movie, that was the thing that pulled me right back out. I was like, nope, that doesn't make sense. And so everybody's real thrilled about this. They're clapping, they're cheering, they're happy about it. And he's just like, peace! And he walks into the water and goes away. So, prior to this recording, I told Al, don't watch the very end of this. Let me just tell you. Yeah. That was it, and
this is further reaffirmed.
You are disappointed.
Yes, I am the disappointed. This reaffirms again the fact that Gareth Edwards learned, because it was ballsy as shit. Spoiler alert: killing off everyone at the end of Rogue One
had to be done.
Having the dinosaur walk off into the ocean with them cheering, not a good ending.
No, not at all. Just completely unexpected. I went on a trip in that movie. I was like, oh, we're gonna get serious. We're not really gonna pay too much attention to it. Okay, we're gonna kill everybody in the world except the main characters, and then we're gonna be boys and we're gonna walk away into the sunset. I know that's the short rundown of that movie. The TLDR of this conversation.
It's the terrible episode, or the terrible movie that Peter Griffin pitches in the episode of Family Guy when his idea is bigger Jaws. Where Jaws and it's Jaws where Jaws is trying to eat the scientists and they're trying to kill Jaws, and then bigger Jaws comes and they have a common enemy. And, oh, we got a common enemy. We have to unite and fight him. And that's the shark saying it.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny because I know it sounds like I'm hating on this movie.
Kind of, yeah.
But I had fun. I did have fun. I don't know. It
sounds like you didn't have fun.
By all accounts, when I recap it, I should not have enjoyed any part of it. But those beautiful aesthetics, like here and there, really did it for me though. Like they were like a lot of they were few and far between, but I guess they were spaced out perfectly. Whereas when I was like, I gotta turn this off, it was like, so
maybe,
I like this.
Maybe he does know pacing because he kept doing that slow drip of heroin that kept you along for the ride.
That's fair. But get better.
Be better.
Be better. So yeah, that's the rundown of Godzilla.
Okay.
Let's transition
to a better movie.
King Kong.
To a movie I actually
saw. Skull Island. A way better movie. Unless you had any other outstanding questions about Godzilla.
No, I'm done with it.
Okay, as am I. Kong Skull Island, tremendously better movie compared to that.
I went in with so very low expectations because
same.
In the biggest surprise, just disappointed by the original. Wow, that was incorrect. Sorry. In the original of Modernity with King Kong, Peter Jackson, I can't find a bigger Lord of the Rings fan than, well, I mean, maybe, but not many. Yeah. So I enjoy Peter Jackson's direction, and I did not like the original-ish King Kong movie. I did not like the Jackson King Kong movie.
That's how you get it.
Way better way to say that.
Yeah.
So I really didn't want to see this. You were excited to see it, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll go and see it so we can do this episode.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know why I'm excited to see these movies, but I am. I find them fun.
But I'm glad I saw it. I ended up enjoying it a lot. It was better in every way that the Jackson movie wasn't. You know what I mean? Every failing that movie had, this movie did a better job of it, which surprised me because I really don't know this director very much. And Peter Jackson did this post Lord of the Rings, so he was firmly established at this point. So yeah, I was really, really pleasantly surprised with this. Part of it probably was my low expectations going in.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed it for several reasons. It was not just one thing.
And from the things that I mentioned before, the things that they've corrected with this movie, that we'll get into them each as we go on. But it is personally for me the pacing, I'm here to see a monster movie. They show me the monster up front.
Yes. Even though he gets sidelined for a bit, which was probably for the right thing because you need to catch your breath. But you get him the second you get to the island, or very nearly the second you get to the island.
Well, no, even before
big scene,
in the prologue of the movie.
Was he?
When the two, he comes up. So the two fight. It's 42, I believe, and the two fighters, the Japanese fighter.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing. Okay.
And they land and they're fighting each other, and that's actually
he's about to. That's a cool scene. The Japanese guy's about to murder him with a katana.
Right, and then you see this giant ape
basically
raising.
What your cat did to me last night.
Yeah. So you see this creature just rise from the distance, and you're like, oh, damn, it's the beginning and I already saw him. I'm excited. And then they're like, okay, let's pull it back. And let's go to, not modern times, but let's go to Vietnam times. and then we start to get into a little bit of the characters there.
Yeah.
Which the characters shine in this movie, specifically compared to Godzilla.
Oh yeah, and in general, with this sort of ensemble cast, it's something that I've really been enjoying more as we get some more of these big cast movies and blockbusters.
Right.
Well, so it's a big reason why this movie worked.
Yeah.
I think it was a great cast of characters here,
right,
played by a great cast of actors.
So in Godzilla, we had Scarlet Witch and her brother
Quicksilver. Not Scarlet Witch and not Quicksilver.
Right, not Scarlet Witch and not Quicksilver fight a dinosaur. In this movie, we have Captain Marvel and Loki fight a different Hulk.
And Nick Fury.
And Nick Fury fight. Wow! There's even more people in there that are in the MCU.
Yeah, we got the whole MCU here.
This is like, in a previous episode, we talked about how many characters they brought on. This is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
It's like going to be 1 degree of separation instead of the Kevin Bacon deal.
6.
But
and Dale Doback.
Yeah, who was that?
John C. Reilly, Dale Doback.
Oh my god.
I know, different thing completely. It's just
steals the show.
I know, and like,
oh my god, he's so good in that movie.
Yes, and he even though he's playing not someone who's borderline on the spectrum, like Dale Doback is in Step Brothers, he's playing just like kind of a lovable doof who's like kind of got cabin fever from having lost in like this whole situation,
absolutely,
but still retains like the personality of like a real person,
right?
Someone who's totally understanding of that. I may never get to go home because he's known that he's been there for 70. No, not 70 years. That wouldn't make sense. No, sorry,
nope.
It's been 70 years since World. No, he's been there for 30 years,
yeah,
which is crazy amount of time to survive on this hellscape of an island,
right?
But he knows he's like about his business there. He knows the lay of the land now. He's been absorbed by this tribe of people who is kind of under the benevolent protection of Kong. But he still has this like wicked sense of humor to him, which is really cool. I guess it's the fatalistic part of him that allows that sense of humor to show through, right? It's that the whole thing, I could get devoured by something horrifying tomorrow, so fuck it.
Yeah.
You know?
And he like his delivery in that movie the entire time, like he's just on the whole time, and it's so like it's so funny, and that's part of what makes it work. Like you're here for fun. Like this is supposed to be a fun time at the movies,
but not comedy, necessarily funny,
right? But there ends up being comedy and like crazy action sequences and like a little this mystery of like what's on this island and. It just
what fresh hell are we going to see next around this corner?
Oh my god, what fresh hell is this? Yes. Oh, and God, did I feel that way when there were giant spiders?
Oh yeah. Thankfully, we heard the reference of giant ants, which I know you love. That
Oh my god. Okay, the giant ants reference is probably my favorite part of that entire movie, where they're in like this wooded area, and it's John C. Reilly and 2 other. Who else was there? Was it Brie Larson and one other person? I feel like
was it Corey Hawkins?
Maybe.
The black guy with the glasses.
Yeah. I think it was the 3 of them.
Yes.
And they're in the woods, and he goes, "Oh, but like a few other
actually,
people go off."
If that was how it was, then the Asian woman must have been there as well.
Perhaps.
She was Corey Hawkins' like assistant.
Maybe.
So they didn't give her much to do in the movie, so you might have kind of forgot she was there.
I think you might be right.
I think she was there. So I think it's the 4 of them.
So anyway, there's a few of them just sitting there like waiting for the others to get back, and he's like, "Oh, by the way," he's like, "keep an eye out for ants." He's like pointing around. He's like all over the place, and then you hear this like squawk sound in the distance. He goes, he's like, "You hear that? It sounds like a bird."
It's not.
It's a fucking ant. And that floored me. Like I was like big belly laugh, like few tears. Like I was laughing hard at Kong Skull Island.
Yes.
Like I really enjoyed that. Oh my god! And he's just so funny.
And they let him carry the burden of the comedy, but everyone else got it. There was a funny line here and there delivered by everyone, but it was parsed out just perfectly. Where this isn't comedy, right?
Yeah.
But you get a funny line here, and 10 minutes later you get a funny line there. You know what I mean?
I mean, you got to see it coming also going into it because you have John Goodman,
and
you have John C. Reilly.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, there's going to be some laughs.
Yeah,
you have Sam Jackson, which laughing at or with, it's going to happen.
Yes.
He
embraces the camp.
Starts off with, ends up being at, in my opinion. But I don't know if you're a huge fan of Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah.
But the Jurassic Park homage in this movie was beautiful, where he says, "And as always, hold on to your butts."
Yes.
And I just looked over at my two buddies, and they were like, "Oh yes."
Until you started saying it just now, I forgot that happened. But I remember watching it, and I was like, "Oh, they said it! Oh, they said it!"
Yay! Cheers all around. And then, so let's start to dive into these characters a little bit. That's where it ends for me. The appeal of Sam Jackson in this movie. That was fun. I enjoyed that, and it starts to go downhill really fast for me for his character. I don't care, and he's really annoying, and he fucks everything up for me.
But it's not Samuel Jackson; it's the character.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not saying. Saying I'm using his name because if you haven't seen the movie, you don't know which character. But yes,
that's fair. But no, it sounded like you didn't like his portrayal.
No. I think he portrayed the character that was written there.
Yeah. But I was interested by the character. I mean, like, listen, I get the whole point of like you're annoyed, but like you get why he is the way he is.
Yeah, but I feel like it took way too long for everybody to team up against him.
Probably, but it's because
it's a movie and it needs to last a certain amount of time. Well, that's how it feels to me.
No, it's perfectly justifiable. I think it's the whole military credo. The most of the guys who are following him blindly are the guys who followed him through hell in the Vietnam War, and that's where this movie picks up. Right, is the end of the Vietnam War and the shipping out. And this is one last hurrah for him because we get that, and they get to it right to the point with him. He's a warrior who's lost his war and doesn't know what he's going to do next, and that's why he jumps at the opportunity to do this.
And that's why in the beginning I'm on board with the character, but for some reason the rest of it doesn't fit for me.
I mean, you can not like him, but I didn't think it was incoherent. I thought that it was a justifiable turn for his character, and I think it was justifiable that his men followed him because. Well, we've been through hell for the last few years, and he's always let us out, so we're going to keep following.
And maybe it's because I couldn't relate to it, but the amount of time that they stick with him and don't turn on him is what really bothered me. And then he ends up being allowed to be like this for way too long.
I can see that, but I don't think it was illogical, the choice. Mm-hmm. So it didn't bother me, and that's it. Like, he bothered me, but he's supposed to.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was illogical at all. I didn't pull me out of like the immersion.
Yeah, I don't think I'm saying that. Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying that it's illogical. I'm saying it went on for too long. I feel like they should have turned sooner because, like, okay, look, I understand you're following this guy, like that's how it is. You're following this guy to the end, but you're on this island with this giant monster that, like things have changed. Rethink a couple things here.
Yeah,
you're making this way harder on yourselves.
I will say the one down note with the whole military aspect of this was his second in command, Jack Chapman. Could you have telegraphed a death more obviously than anywhere this side of The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
You knew that guy was dying from the second he walked on screen, and honestly, it was a coup how long he stayed alive.
Yeah.
He should have died way earlier than he did. Because the only thing I was certain of after watching the first 10, 15 minutes of that movie was that guy's going to die at some point.
Yep.
Like, could you have a bigger sad sack who's, I just got to get home to my wife and son.
Oh, he's not
I love my wife and son. Oh, I'm so PTSD from this. He's going to die.
I'm so going to make it home to my wife and son from this hell island.
And, can we rehash the whole Lethal Weapon, like, it's my last day before my retirement thing anymore?
Too old for this shit.
Like that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
Oh, one more day and I get to go home and see my... You're gonna die, dude.
You're not
Can you stop saying it because we know you're gonna
we
die.
get it.
We get
it. You're as good as dead.
So that was like the one down note with the characters I felt. He just annoyed me. I was just waiting for him to die so we can get over his sad sack routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had some opinions on Loki in this film.
Yeah, not just him. So actually, I'm gonna.
I like how we're just like we're being like real rude, to the characters, but it's fun and I enjoy it.
You know what? I don't think it struck me until just now looking at his name. His name is James Conrad. Like, that's not jumping out at anyone. The fact that his name is J. Conrad. We're in a little bit of rabbit hole here. Like, I think it's Joseph Conrad.
And there's the point in this episode where the fans stop.
Sorry, at this point, I'm actually now starting to tune it out.
Yeah.
I think it was Joseph Conrad who wrote Heart of Darkness.
Okay.
Heart of Darkness allegorically became the movie Apocalypse Now.
Right.
Which is taking place in Vietnam, and he's a Vietnam soldier who's now going to be their guide in this.
Right.
Like, we're not, like, no one's seeing this, like, how this is all tied together here. Like, it's not even a little bit, like, ironic that this is all, like, happening here like this. Maybe it's just me, I don't know.
Hold on your butts. Same universe as Jurassic Park, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they're
both, just his ancestor.
They're both Universal properties.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's how you get away with that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But actually, before I get to Tom Hiddleston, I was going to go with Brie Larson.
Okay.
What do you think of her in general?
I like her.
Okay. I feel like up until this point, I don't really have much of an opinion on her. She was...
I'm trying to remember what I saw her in recently that I was like, yeah.
She was just there in 21 Jump Street. She wasn't bad. Well, I didn't think she was particularly good. I know did she win, or was she just nominated for an Oscar last year? I think she might have won for The Room, right?
It was Room, yeah. I don't know if she... I feel like she won. I think that might be why...
I think she won, but I didn't see the movie.
I think that might be why...
I know it was really dark. She plays in Don John. She's just there.
Yeah.
She has one scene where she actually speaks. It's the last scene we see her in, basically.
Well, that's interesting though that you remember that.
Well, I remember because I was like, oh, Brie Larson.
Yeah.
And then she's just like chewing and giving weird glances the whole movie.
The League. That's what she was in.
She's in The League?
Yes, she was. She played
I don't remember.
Ashley.
Who the hell was that?
She dated Pete for a while. For a short period of time. Yeah.
I have no memory of that.
I think that's what it was. I think she dated Pete and then ended up with Rafi in some exchange. I'm pretty sure.
I have no memory of this at all, and I've watched every episode of that show.
I'm doing a little quick search for that right now.
Okay, so I mean, I liked her in this.
Yeah,
because I've been skeptical of the casting her in Captain Marvel because I just haven't seen anything that would, to me, speak to that sort of role. So she handled the physical part of this role really well, I thought. And she starts off, it seems like she's going to be the super serious female character who, like, we have to respect her because she's a super serious female role. Well, not that there's any problem with that, but she gives you a reason to actually give a damn about the character.
Yeah.
Which is good because otherwise she's just the super serious female
character,
which is just being shoehorned in for diversity's sake. And this isn't me attacking the attempt at diversity either. It's the way they go about it that I don't like.
Yeah. For the most part.
But she's competent and she's smart and absolutely. She has a personality. She's not a robot, and that's the problem I think I have is too often they make them robot type characters. So I really actually liked her in this. This is the first time that I get why we make a big deal about her and we're gonna like cast her as Captain Marvel. I thought she did a really good job in this movie.
I like the play between her and the short play between her and Sam Jackson. In the movie,
earlier in the movie.
Yeah, they're like, oh, like you're the journalist that hates war, and I am the guy that loves it.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of the obligatory thing attacking them. Although,
and even though they don't have a lot of interaction from that point on, there's just serious tension when they're in the same.
It's kind of delivered.
Not room because there's no rooms in this.
No, outside of the boat. That's the only time they're in like a because that tension is kind of delivered through the third party of Tom Hiddleston's character, right?
Right.
Where he's the leader.
Sorry, if you can't see me, I'm yawning.
He's yawning and stretching, and then just like
bark at the
grunting at us. So Tom Hiddleston is kind of that third party.
Get it right.
That third party, future James Bond. At least if I was casting. We'll get to that in a minute. So his character is the liaison between the military and the science teams, and she's. Well, so we'll call them the non-combatants because it's the science team plus her, plus John Goodman and Corey Hawkins, who I like. He's really blown up lately. He's on The Walking Dead, or was. His status is kind of up in the air for those of you who watch.
MIA.
He's the main character of the resurgence of 24 Legacy.
That's right. I actually forgot about that. Yeah,
I've liked him in that. He's been pretty good.
I haven't seen it.
I've been up on it. I've watched.
What's his name? Heath.
Heath in The Walking Dead. He's Eric Carter in 24, and now he's in this. And I just saw him in something else, a commercial for something else too. So he's really like out of nowhere blown up.
Him and John Goodman have a cool chemistry from the get-go.
Yeah, I like them. They
just like it's almost as if like you think that maybe they, which is very likely if they take themselves like seriously, they probably get together obviously like beforehand and develop a personal chemistry between each other, so because they're going to be friends on screen and colleagues.
Yeah.
In the I feel like that's probably what happened there because
They did
it
have
seems
a good,
very natural.
Like friendly business relationship, like where they're
like they've been doing it together for a long time.
They've been working together,
could,
and like not that they would necessarily be friends outside of work, but that they work together well enough for long enough that they're friends.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
So I did like kind of like
very cool
that relationship.
I bought it right off the bat.
Yeah. I thought I really like Shea Wiggum. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I heard Ralph Wiggum when you said that, but
I don't know who that is.
Simpsons.
Yeah, I don't watch Simpsons. He was the guy who was like kind of like the grizzled vet, who was like kind of like the quirky personality.
Oh, hang on, I'm trying to pull him up. So I think he was somebody that I wanted to bring up.
He's been in a lot of things. He's always kind of plays this sort of.
He plays that guy.
Role.
He plays that guy.
He plays that guy most of the time, where he's excellent in a support role because that's what he always does. Not that he's always necessarily the same personality, but he's just like. He's that guy who you know is going to reliably be there, like show up to work, like whatever role he's playing.
And like let's put it in perspective for the folks. He's the guy that towards the end of the
that was fucked up
fight scene. Yeah, like he pulls the pins and the grenades. He's trying to be the hero. He's trying to be the admiral. he's trying to be the admiral. So he's walking towards the skull crawler, and he's like waiting for it to like. He's like, it's gonna eat me, and then when it does, I'm gonna blow it up from the inside out. And he's like, let's do this! And then it just swats him out of the way. I'm like, fuck. They've ruined him.
Papa Skullcrawler just said nope and swatted him like a fucking fly.
Like everybody else is like, oh, what a way to go out.
Yeah, I was like, that sucks. That surprising twist.
Yeah.
Not that it was a big twist per se, but like, you expect him not to kill the thing, but to...
I didn't expect the Skullcrawler to be like, I don't have time for you. Get out of my way!
I expected the thing to take the bait.
Yeah.
He's not going to succeed in killing it, but he's going to get his pound of flesh.
Yeah. And
hopefully that's the impetus for him ultimately being defeated.
Right.
And instead, nope, fuck you, swats him to the side.
You got bombs? Not up in here!
And John Ortiz, obviously. Not that anyone would have known this prior to listening to this, but to go through the weird family tree thing. My uncle's wife's sister's husband. So not really related to me, but like extended family. And I've met him a few times. He will not be joining us on this podcast.
I like that you went that route. My uncle's wife's sister and not your aunt's sister, because then it's like, so your aunt?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's a cool guy. Like I met him, like he's like kind of similar to a lot of the characters he plays, where like just like a nice, like soft-spoken dude. Like he's a nice guy. Although he played a different character, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
It's funny because the first time I ever saw him in anything was in the Miami Vice movie with Colin Farrell and Jimmy Fox.
I didn't see that one.
And he's definitely not playing his typical character.
Yeah, he's also like a bad guy in the Fast and Furious movie as well.
Is he in that? I didn't even know. I haven't seen anything past the fourth one.
It's Fast and Furious, which would be like the sixth one.
Wait, Fast and Furious?
Yeah.
That was the fourth one.
Fourth one?
That's the last one I saw. I don't remember him being in that.
Yeah, he's in that one.
Well, that shows you how much
if you're certain that it was the fourth one.
I'm pretty sure.
I know
because then it's like Fast 5. It's like Fast 5, and then it's like...
Then I think I hate them. I love watching those movies. I hate the titles. I will never know the order.
No, he's in Fast and Furious. I'm pretty sure it's the fourth one.
Yeah. I don't know that it's the fourth, but I know that he's in that one.
I think it was. Whatever. It's not Too Fast, Too Furious.
No. Oh my god.
But like mostly he plays the character like Silver Linings Playbook, the show Rake that only lasted one season that I watched, and a couple other roles. Like he always plays like he's just like the dude who's there. He's like a good friend, like nice dude, like soft spoken, like. And he's not that in this. He's an asshole. And also not surprising that he died, but the death, both the timing and the way it happened, very surprising.
Yeah.
Just got swooped up by like the flying monkeys of this world.
Right. And it was like, oh, damn.
And they just like swarm him and like lift him up and then tear his arm off.
Tear him apart. like it's no big deal.
So that was surprising. It was an interesting turn because the only other thing I've seen him really, he was like kind of out of type to what I know him from at least, because I have not seen all his filmography, is Miami Vice, where he plays a drug kingpin. So that's very different from his like kind of typical character.
Right, like his typical character in Silver Linings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I liked him in that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He's good in that. And that's kind of how I see him in real life. Like, that's how he is. Like, he's just like a nice guy.
Yeah. He's a solid supporting role. Like,
he does a good job.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the headline of this movie, from my perspective at least. Tom Hiddleston. everyone likes him as Loki. I like him as Loki.
Sure.
Really good. But I was wondering whether that was really all that he was going to be able to be to do.
Sure.
And I don't know if you've seen any of his other roles other than this. You didn't happen to see the miniseries on AMC?
No.
The Night Manager?
Night Manager? No, I didn't.
You should watch it. It's really good. It's based on the John le Carré novel. Mm-hmm. I've never read him, although I probably should because he writes the type of stuff that I would read. That suspense, especially slow burn type of stuff. I'm a big Robert Ludlum guy, and Tom Clancy guy. He's really good in that, and it was at the time that was coming out that people started floating him as a possible idea to replace Daniel Craig as James Bond.
Okay.
And up until then, I was like, I'm not really seeing it because he plays kind of like a wimpy, sniveling shit as Loki. Does it really well. Yeah. Interesting character.
Yeah, but within a couple of minutes, he's completely believable as the tough guy.
Yes, as the ex-SAS guy like that. And in the Night Manager, same thing. He plays ex-Special Forces who's out of the service. Just trying to be a normal guy. He works at a swanky hotel. Yeah. He's the night manager. He runs the night shift thing.
Good for him for not staying typecasted as that son of a bitch Loki.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So
even though we're calling
after watching, it was 6 or 8 episode run of the Night Manager, which really cool cast too. Yeah. Mostly British. It's a British production, it's British American co-production. It ran on BBC before it ran on AMC. Hugh Laurie plays the main bad guy, and there's a guy who's in it who I was like, oh. This guy seems familiar, but I'm not sure if I know him from anything. It took me forever to actually figure out because I was just too lazy to look it up, who he was. So you remember you've seen all 3 of the original Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yes.
So in the second and third one, Cutler Beckett, the guy who comes in and is he's the strong arm of the British government.
Okay, yeah.
He plays such a different role. In this, he plays a huge asshole, which isn't a different role, but it's just he plays. I can't even describe it. He's really fucking good in this.
Yeah.
He plays
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and Hugh Laurie, and Tom Hiddleston's really good and totally sold because he has to go back, even though he's retired military. He has to go back in because he witnesses some stuff. Hugh Laurie plays a rich guy who's secretly an arms dealer.
Okay.
And he has to infiltrate his organization. And he has to do the whole multiple personality thing like a James Bond would. He has to he charms the pants off of any woman he needs to.
Right.
Although, unlike James Bond, he does it without trying. Which is a cool, subtle thing, a different way to do it. He isn't that overly, alpha, macho type, it's a kind of let them come to me type of thing. Right. But he, totally is believable doing it. He can handle the physical part of the role. He kicks ass in the show, and he kicks ass in this. Yeah. He handles the physical part of that. I think he'd be a kick-ass James Bond.
Yeah.
And
I'd be down for that.
Some people I've talked to are no, he wouldn't be good. I'm you're thinking of him as Loki. Just trust me. If you watch The Night Manager, if you watch this movie, don't get me wrong. I know, I like Daniel Craig a lot, but the problem is, even if he does one more, he's not going to do more than that. He's just too old at this point.
I don't think he needs to. I don't think
he doesn't need to. I really enjoyed him in this role. But Tom Hiddleston's 35 or 36 now, so he could totally handle 3 or 4. A lot of the guys you hear pitched are older than that. They're not going to be able to stick around. You hear Tom Hardy pitched. Tom Hardy would be a very good Bond, but he's already 40 years old. Yeah. Idris Elba. I think he'd be a great, even though there's too many racist fucks who don't want a black James Bond. Sure. He would be a really good James Bond. Yeah. He's just too old.
Because he's got the charisma and the
right? The gravitas. He's got the gravitas. He could
totally be a dick.
Yes.
Which James Bond needs to be able to be. And I could see Hiddleston's got range.
Right?
So I would be so down for that.
I think he'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like that's gained a lot of traction for whatever reason.
It's unfortunate.
Because I think I've heard him say that he'd be interested if they want to do it.
Oh,
I think his name's been in the running. But I think they're just... One, I think that they're not committed to not getting Daniel Craig to do one more. So they're not jumping on the opportunity of grabbing someone else.
Gotcha.
2, I think for whatever reason they're not sold on him, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's the name appeal isn't there, if they're waiting for him. Maybe after this being successful, if people respond well to him. I don't know. That's just my speculation. That's my wild speculation. We're gonna have to get a sound effect for that eventually.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep doing that.
No, I'm fine with that too. Budget. I mean, not that we need much of a budget to go with that. So, that's my take on this. I think he'd be great in that because I thought he was really good in this, and he's really, really good in The Night Manager. That's something you should watch.
I want to check that out for sure. Any other characters you want to touch on?
Not really. Those are the ones who are the major players in this, anyway. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that we missed so far? Because we had the cinematography. Did we want to talk about that?
A little bit, yeah. So
because there were some cool shots in this too.
There was a lot of great photography.
Even though this took place in the 70s and Godzilla took place like current day, there are some really cool visual aesthetic things that they're doing with these movies.
Oh yeah.
And not just like that they're doing some really cool things, that there is a sense of cohesion, which is cool.
Yep.
I didn't realize until I started checking out some of those clips on Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like, some of they do, like, it's a really weird thing to say, and it seems like, I don't know, like, they do a lot of great work with colors, which is what I know it sounds stupid.
I know neither of us is, like, actual, like, cinematography, like, majors or whatever, so we have a very basic, dumb sounding way to talk about these
The colors
things.
are beautiful. Look at the colors, Duke. So there's the scene where they're, these gas pockets. Remember the gas pockets scene?
The vents,
where they blow, they're flammable gas pockets that they light up. They end up using
that was a really cool looking scene. You're right.
That scene was unreal, and the smoke. I think there were a couple of smoke grenades involved in that, and the gas mask, and then like this shot where like they like do it like almost like a slow mo guy in the gas mask moving through the colored smoke.
There's Tom Hiddleston running to save. Yep. Who was that actually? Who he was going to save? That wasn't Shea Wiggum, was it?
I don't remember. It might have been.
No, it was the young guy.
The young kid that makes it through.
Slivko. The one I was trying to think it was a Russian name or something like that.
Yeah, so like that scene though, it's in slow motion. It's beautifully shot. It's like similar to that Godzilla scene that I was saying earlier. It's one of those ones where you like freeze, print. Like it's a beautiful scene.
Yes.
And it's like oversaturated in a really cool way, and like the way the colors just come out, like it's just like that scene stuck with me. That's another thing. Like I'll always remember that scene, like in the back of my mind. Like when I think Kong, I'm thinking that scene.
Yeah, and even the lead up to that scene when they're sneaking through this graveyard with like the kind of chlorine smoke look like effect, because it was like a greenish like tinge like smoke, and you see the little pockets of gas like that's like igniting and this and that. And it was a great job of visual and audio tension being built for something not actually going on, but you're on pins and needles waiting to see what happens next.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen next. Something's going to happen. You know it. And you're just waiting, when does the tension finally burst? Like, right? Like that was a really cool scene start to finish. Plus, we've been full spoiler shit. Like the death of John Goodman.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of had to figure that was coming eventually.
What about like the realization of his own fate at that second?
Yeah, he knew,
and it lasts.
He was the oh fuck me.
It's like 3 seconds, but it lasts for a minute in your mind. Like as he's standing there, and you're like, this is how it is probably for him. Like it's slowing down. Like seal it.
And it was that tension. It was that tension at work, right?
Yeah.
That's when it finally breaks.
Yep.
And it was really cool because we get the scene of it was a cool character moment for Marlowe, John C. Reilly's character, where they hear the skull crawler crawling around, but they can't see it, and it's moving too quick, and it's like, and he draws the katana.
Another still frame that I would print out,
and he's the way he into like a traditional like stance of like the way that like I can't think of the word now. Oh my god, the Japanese soldiers who carried the katanas, like the old feudal Japanese. I can't even think of the samurai. Oh my god!
I don't feel like you. It sounded like you were trying to go somewhere else with it.
No.
I could have thrown samurai to you. I apologize that I didn't. I'll just let you hang out there.
That traditional stance, right, with holding the sword and the cool like the show like the knife's blade and like and like how it glints and everything like that, and how he's taking that mantle on, and how like that was earlier in the movie that was such like a big emotional moment for him,
right?
Leaving the friend behind, saying that he was always going to take him with him,
yeah.
But it was impractical to take his fallen friend with them.
And that's I liked that. Like there's a lot. There's so much in that scene of him pulling it out with such form and all that stuff, because you get this hint, like in the beginning, in the very opening scene of the movie, these two characters are fighting each other.
Gonna fight to the death.
They're gonna fight to the death, and things change when they're like, oh, you know what? There's a lot stuff. There's bigger things than us.
Bigger jaws.
Yeah. So bigger jaws. So there's that, and like you're like, okay, so they kind of started to get along, and then in that scene you realize how along they got, because he clearly they were on this island for however many years.
He's weeping when they have to leave his body.
Yes. But so there's that scene that drives it home. Then there's this scene where he's clearly, they spent enough time together for him to teach him this.
Yes.
And like that, it's so cool.
30 years.
Beautifully
and he's
done.
Been dead for, was it the last 5 or 10 or something like that? Like, that he had said that his friend died like 5 or 10
something
years
like that,
earlier,
yeah.
like that. And it still was so raw to him.
Yeah. And so perfectly done. Like, I love that. I love a scene that, like, there's a whole story in that scene where he's pulling out the sword without dialogue, without anything but a picture.
You're told the whole story. It was just
really well done.
The
like,
picture of being worth 1,000 words.
Yeah,
right? Like,
love it. Oh, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like they doubled down on, I know it's different director and all that, but like they doubled down on like the appeal of a really beautiful visual still.
It's amazing that a series of movies about plot-wise pretty much nothing, just big things fucking things up.
Yep.
And we've had 2 movies of it, and already they're more cohesive and better than the DCEU.
It's a sad fact.
Right?
Yeah.
I was trying to look up quickly before, but there wasn't a good way for me to do it without like just breaking and leaving you out. Like, I want to find out who the guy is who runs that.
Gotcha.
As opposed to who runs
That or gal.
DCEU.
Don't.
Or no. I don't know.
Watch your rest.
The point. No, the point is I don't know who it
I
is.
know
Who's the run? Like, Kevin Feige is that guy at Marvel. He is the czar of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I forget the name. It is a guy.
I hope his business card says MCU czar.
That'd be cool. If not, I'm going to send him that as a mock. He can get his people to do it because I think it's cool as hell. I forget. It is a guy, and I forget the name of the guy who does it for Warner. And I think that he may be getting ousted or has gotten recently ousted because he's done a shit job, as we discussed in our superhero one. And I don't know who it is who's in charge of this situation. Because it's with speaking of other ones who are eminently capable at their job, Marvel has Kathleen Kennedy, who's been a long time partner of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, specifically Spielberg. Even like going back, I was recently watching the original Jurassic Park. She's got a producer's credit on that, so she's been with Steven Spielberg for a long time.
Okay.
And she's the one who's in charge of the whole Star Wars universe now. It's like her and J.J. Abrams together, but she's the one who's really in charge of the whole thing from the top down.
Right.
So I'm curious to see who it is who's in charge of this Universal Monsters universe, because they're doing a good job, whoever it is.
Yeah. Well, so what are you now that like you're a fan of Kong? Are you interested in the Mummy?
Is that part of this? I didn't realize.
I believe it is.
I didn't think that was part of this because that didn't seem to be something we talked about with the post-credit stinger with Kong, where they show, which was cool. They having Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston.
I'm not certain. Don't quote me on that.
It may be a Universal. It's a Universal property. I think you're right, but I don't think it's part of this. I think they're all supposed to be big monsters.
Let's see. I have to know this. Is the Mummy?
And we got some serious backstory on that whole situation. We haven't touched on that yet with the whole thing with these hollows in the earth where these monsters are pouring forth from. That was something I wasn't expecting, especially not having seen Godzilla. I don't know if there was any reference to that or not.
What, in Godzilla?
Yeah.
The hollows?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier on when there's a collapse while they're digging, and there is this
Well, clearly that meant to be the same, but I didn't know if they reference that.
They don't dig deep into that.
Okay, because that was the whole point. That was the impetus for this whole story, right? Was John Goodman and Corey Hawkins going to the government and saying, "We believe that there's these things, and that there's one of them under Kong, under Skull Island, and we want to investigate this because we think it has real big impact for the state of the world." Which if there's a whole litany of these things, they're gonna fuck shit up, and that was the whole point of them going in and trying to kill Kong. Although we find out that Kong, somewhat similar to Godzilla, is a little bit more of the benevolent type, as opposed to the skull crawlers or the suckers from those suckers
from earlier. It looks like I'm not. We might have had that a little bit backwards, but there's a Universal Monsters that is it's the Mummy. Then there's a couple of untitled films, and there's Invisible Man, Wolfman, Van Helsing, Creatures from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, did I have the wrong thing? I just looked it up quickly. I thought that's what it was.
So did I. Those make more sense together, obviously.
Yes, and that's why I was confused because I didn't think.
So this is not that then. This is something else, but we'll get into, I guess, at another time. Might have had that backwards.
That's entirely my fault, and
it's all good.
I'm sure I already know one person who, if he listens to this whole thing, is going to call me on that. Because that's what I get. I just get a random text.
Well, this is Al calling himself.
I'm calling it on myself because I get, apropos of nothing, I get a text from my friend who we've referenced before by name, Michael James O'Connor, where he'll just text me, ripping something that we do. Because he's our first official hate listener. Yeah. Which, you need.
I'll take him.
You need that to happen in this whole situation. So,
That's probably. I think
if he makes it to this stage of this episode, I will certainly have gotten a text about this.
I do wonder if it's like all part of the same. It's not maybe not part of the same like universe where they're trying to create like these things existing together, but they're probably like doing something similar with that set of movies.
Yeah, I don't know. That wouldn't make sense for it to be in the same thing.
No.
Oh no, it's not because this is Warner. I didn't realize this is a Warner property as well. Can they fire whoever's taking DCU and give this guy the job?
Yeah, right.
Because or girl. No,
So
I'm pretty sure it's
interesting. We had it so backwards for a while. But
this is what it is. It's Legendary's MonsterVerse. I knew there was a name for it, but I couldn't think of what the hell it was.
Yes, that's the one.
So amending our statement from earlier, it is not Universal Monsters. It is the Legendary MonsterVerse.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into the other topic because I was going to bring up the Mummy.
Okay, so it's a joint thing between Legendary Pictures and Warner Brothers. Okay.
This might be a bigger topic to tackle another time, but now there's these universes that we're trying to create, and it's like, is that becoming too much?
Could be.
Well, we'll talk about that another time.
Could be. It still depends on how they do it, man.
It really is.
Because you have Marvel that's getting it. You got this that's through 2 instances has gotten it.
Yeah.
You have like an okay movie in Godzilla and a very good movie in this one. And then you have Star Wars that totally gets it.
Yeah.
So, like, DC, step up your fucking shit here.
One of the other cool scenes, though, like just the beautiful aesthetic, is it's just like him Kong standing with the sun behind his back.
Yes, like, they gave you a couple of cool shots like that.
Yeah, like I love those. I just love a scene like that where you as we said earlier, where you just like you could pause it, print it, like, and it's a beautiful shot. Like that's so cool to me, and like they really delivered on those in these movies, and like that particular one with Kong standing in the distance, but still huge, is giving off that sense of scale that like it just makes it real. It just like brings the whole story home.
And we got some cool scenes with different creatures. You have the gigantic bull. Right, like water buffalo.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah,
we saw a couple of times, and it was cool, like seeing like the Brie Larson character like interact. The first time she she didn't. It was Kong.
Right, or trying to,
and the Kong recognized that, and that ultimately led to him trying to save her later.
Right,
as opposed to all the other guys were dropping bombs on him.
It's interesting too.
The giant spider, which was a much better scene than the insect scene. I literally can't watch the insect scene from the Peter Jackson.
Yeah, that was rough.
It just goes on forever and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And we get a cool... It seemed like... Would you say that you liked the Kong fight scene with the skull crawler at the end much better than you liked the Godzilla versus the Suckers?
I did.
Because I'm gonna keep doing
I love it.
Because
we gotta go back to them and be like, I think you should name these things the Suckers.
There was a sense of... Even though it was ridiculous creatures fighting on such a ridiculous Titanic scale... it was kind of a more grounded sense, I think, where you felt the weight of them hurting each other during the battle.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, with you, you're like, oh, they're going to fight some more, and it's going to grab it, and he's going to throw it.
Right.
Like, you felt the weight of them hitting each other.
Physically hurting each other over and over again.
You felt like it mattered.
It was like, towards the end, it was like the end of a boxing match where they're tired.
Yeah, they're literally on the ropes. It was
cool.
Like, where he gets chained up and he can't get out, and like the other, like the skullcrawler is like,
but then turns the
marked
blade into this weapon.
Oh yeah, like
that was
propeller,
great.
right?
Yeah.
Like that was really cool.
That was awesome.
There was like that sense of scope, and there's a sense of stakes too, as he tries to save Brie Larson. She had gone up on top of the thing to like signal in their extraction, and he catches it, and now he's fighting with one hand tied behind his back, literally.
Yeah,
and the thing tries to eat his entire arm.
Yeah,
and swallows her because she's in his hand.
Yeah,
like
that's so cool.
And he's like, "Well, you're eating me,
yeah,
and you're eating this thing that I'm trying to save, and also
gonna happen.
Like, fuck you."
Yeah.
Can we get that again? That scene of where he like tries to tear the jaw.
Yep.
Like open again, which I don't know why we keep coming back to these things, but it was kind of cool, right?
Mm-hmm. Loved it.
So the action.
I had fun with the action scenes there, but just to touch on scale again, one of the really cool scenes, another not one that I would print out because it's a little creepy, but the dead Kongs.
Oh, Kong's parents.
Yeah, that was like
and that was that whole graveyard scene.
I didn't really
right?
get where it was going, and then like that comes out, and you're like, oh, like.
Yeah, because they referenced it earlier that he's
alone.
Yeah, he's alone. His parents are dead.
He's the last. Kong's king around here.
He's the last. He's the last of his kind. But yeah, you get the sense of like, oh, that's why it matters because we walked back. That's like that swamp fog graveyard that you walk through is like the bones of its parents.
That was creepy. Skull crawlers.
It sounded really cool in my head.
Saying it now, it sounds stupid. Call them what you want. John C. Reilly stealing the show.
Every scene, basically.
I have one last thing I want to touch on it, unless you have something else in this.
No, we can wrap it up with whatever you
The end of the movie, he gets to go home. John C. Reilly. He makes it home.
That was a cool credit sequence.
And it's like home video.
Yes,
shot.
that was perfect for this.
And fucking Chris turns to me and goes, based on a true story. And I was like, God damn it! Like, you can't do that. It was really funny. But like early, it's Cubs opening day, and he's watching the Cubs, and he's got his hot dog.
Yeah, because I said earlier, like that was like when he the one thing I want.
And it's like this shouldn't like. I shouldn't have like an emotional connection to this.
But you do.
But I do, and I love it.
He's crying, and his wife is crying, and his son, who he's never met, is crying.
Yeah.
And you want to cry too, kind of, like, even though you're also laughing because you see John C. Reilly.
Oh, man. That was...
And you get to see him, like, he's like got a little grin on his face, eating his hot dog and watching his Cubs.
All I wanted in that moment was hot dog.
That's great. Like, I know you're not a big sports fan, although I'm sure because Kim's a baseball fan, like, you probably heard, a decent amount about the Cubs winning the World Series this year. And there's a funny little joke they shoehorn in there with that about...
Yes!
Did the Cubs win the World Series? No.
Yeah.
No, they've been terrible.
Yeah.
And that's taking place in the 70s.
Right.
And it still takes another 45 years for them to win.
Yeah. Oh my god. It was a great way to end it. Like,
yes.
It was like this crazy roller coaster, a nice settle down at the end.
Yeah,
like until the after scene credits, it's like, this is gonna be bigger, we're gonna have more movies, it's gonna get fucking nuts.
Which totally makes sense, but yeah, it was cool after having it being a pretty heavy movie, like the stakes this whole time, and it's just a guy who finally got to come home after the longest nightmare. And he's just going to drink a beer and eat a hot dog and watch his fucking baseball. Like that was cool.
That was cool. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Kong. Check it out. Godzilla, whatever. If you want.
If you're someone who is kind of like the completionist of like getting the idea of the whole world, it sounds like you should probably check it out.
Right.
I will eventually. It wasn't any big moral stand on my point not watching it.
Mm-hmm.
This I really enjoyed. You should check it out.
Yeah. Well, you good?
I was good.
All right, so that's episode 6 of Flix and a 6, Spinchoon production there. Check out spinchoon.com to catch a new episode every Monday and the new article every Thursday. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can reach us at The Spinchoon on Twitter and Facebook, or email thespinchoon@gmail.com. That's THESPINCHOON@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in.